Hello. Thank you guys for coming to this watch party. How's everyone doing today? We got a lot of stuff happening. We got the Merry Hardfork coming next month. Multi-assets on Cardano. Really excited for that. A little late on the watch party, but we can do a little AMA first. If you guys have any questions, let me go check, see if they've actually started this. Ye ask and ye shall receive. You want a watch party, you get a watch party. So I'm joining the crowdcast right now. Yeah, I'm a little late. It's the consultations, man. I've been doing the staple consultations, and they often run longer. What's happening, dude? What's up, Anthony? I appreciate you guys coming by. Nike said, working while listening. What's up, man? Hope work's not too bad today. Hello, Vram. I just need moon. We all need moon, man. We need the moon. All right, let me in. See if this has started yet. Usually they start a couple of minutes late too, so it should be all right. Maybe we could do a little bit
We've
of
got
hype.
lots coming up today. We've got
Fuck, it's already
updates on the
started.
Tala Prism with Donnell and Mark. They'll be joining us a little later on the show. We'll have lots of Gogan updates. We'll be talking about the Plutus Playground, the Mary Hardfork Combinator event, and lots more. So please stick with us. And at the end of the show, there'll be full timestamps in the show notes so you can dive in and choose the bits you really want to focus on. But look, great to have you here. With no further ado, Aparna, how are you?
Doing great, Tim. It's great to be back as well. It's been an entire month of development for us. So yes, we got a lot of content in the show, so please do keep tuned. But on top of that, I think we need to talk about like how the show's really evolved. We're bringing in a little bit of thought leadership pieces. We're really pushing those updates, keeping our transparency level at a very high level for the community to kind of see what's going on. And also, I love the fact that we're involving the community more and more outside of this show. There's a lot going on with surveys. There's a lot going on with focus groups and calls that we're doing specifically on certain features. And you're going to hear more about that through the different products in the show. So very excited to get that going.
So remember, if you're watching on YouTube, to like and subscribe to get all the very latest updates fresh as they come. So let's dive straight in. Aparna, what's up first?
Let's talk about the Plutus Playground. We caught up with Vuk a little while ago, so let's run that clip.
So many people watching the show will have seen the announcement on Monday around the refreshed Plutus Playground. Perhaps you just want to remind everybody, what is the Plutus Playground and who is it for?
Yeah, so the Plutus Playground is for almost anyone, mainly because we allowed users to actually have a disposal smart contracts that are pre-written from them. So basically, they can use some of the frequently used smart contracts written in Plutus, and they can simulate transactions, and they basically see how such a smart contract would interact with the different actors and the wallets interacting with them.
So look, maybe just give us a bit of a flavor of the experience that developers will get with the Playground, and maybe some of the particular features that they'll see there.
Yeah, so the main feature is that users will be able to see the smart contracts written in Plutus by the IOHK team and change those contracts as they wish, and then simulate those contracts and be able to do some actions on them, which is very powerful, because basically this is what Plutus is going to be on the mainnet. So basically you can start developing smart contracts even before those are on the mainnet. Other features, of course, include some nice to have features, like having access to the bindings that you would use in your IDE. For example, that's a Vim, Emac, and so on. And also, of course, you can save your session through GitHub. So you can basically save the work that you have done and get back to it at a later stage. Those are the major ones. Of course, we are going to be working on more features that are going to allow more and more people actually use the Playground with less friction. And we are going to work also on some features that are more focused on production workloads, where we are going to allow basically developers take advantage of the Playground as a tool that they use daily in order for them to be able to develop Plutus smart contracts, also for the mainnet, with much less friction than that would be only with using a local tool.
Yep. So Tim and Vuk, like a part of the reason why we do these playgrounds is to give community members and developers a chance to play around with the language itself, right? So writing and executing Plutus, and Plutus is a language that you will have to learn. It's not incredibly user friendly, or it's not the easiest. It's not the most well known. It's our language, and what the playground does is it provides our users contracts that were written by our developers, so our team internally, right? So it's got the security, all the semantics, everything that was kind of written there. So when they're playing around with it, they're assured that they can it won't have any errors to it. So we are giving this sort of assurance just to get people in, and then we're building upon that experience to get them to the final mainnet product. And actually, I want Vuk to speak to this a little bit in terms of the roadmap. Where is this playground going?
The first thing that we wanted to have is basically people start developing Plutus smart contracts on like an environment that will give them some time before we actually launch on the mainnet. But the second problem that we were thinking about is what happens when you have actually done those things. So when you have developed for a couple of months and you want to take that code and you want to release it on the mainnet, how do we actually make that experience better? And that's something that we're working very hard on right now. And something that I also want to mention is that now is probably the best time to actually start developing Bluetooth smart contracts because it's going to take you some time. It's going to take you some time to get familiar with the language. It's going to take you some time to understand how you should have the different actors interact. It's going to take you some time to actually change the contracts. Maybe you want to also consult with third parties to make sure that your smart contracts are secure. You want to do an audit. All those things are necessary before you actually launch in production. So I invite as many developers as possible to actually start developing Bluetooth smart contracts before we actually get to the mainnet. The mainnet is basically when you can have like that contract in production. But before that can happen, you need to do a bunch of things. And those are the ones that we're trying to cover with the Bluetooth Playground.
And of course, if you're a developer and you're watching, we'll drop a link just in now. So if you want to get involved with the Playground, click on that and you can get involved in our developer programs as well.
Also, developers have the opportunity now to actually give us feedback on the Bluetooth Playground. But at the same time, we could possibly also give people some help on the development of those Bluetooth contracts before we actually have too many requests. So now it's a great opportunity to actually, be one of the few that are developing for the mainnet.
Well, actually, it's more than a few, right? I mean, the last 48 hours, we had about 600 plus people, users on the playground per Mike's analytics. So this is looking very promising. We're very excited about that, and I know it's only going to grow. So how are we supporting them, Vuk? We've got a support channel, right? Ready for?
Yes, yes, we are leveraging the same community that we have started building with the DevNets. We have a channel where people are posting questions, and we're trying to take care of all of them.
Okay, so you heard Vuk, get involved and get involved early. Click on the link and come and join us. Vuk, before you go, there's something else coming up, isn't there? Before the Plutus deployment, Hardfork, we've got native tokens coming up with another Hardfork Combinator event, the Mary Hardfork, as we've codenamed it. Maybe we want to just dive into that a little bit now.
Right before the holidays, wow, it feels like forever now, but we had just put out the native tokens pre-production environment. So before we go into like the roadmap and kind of the advantages and all that, tell us about the experience there. How many users did we get? How many tokens were created? What were some of the highlights?
Yeah, so during the holidays, we had great activity, especially on the minting. We saw more than 300 tokens minted. And that's taking into consideration the difficulty of actually minting a token. It's a great result for now. Now, on the other hand, we are trying to tackle that complexity by abstracting away the entire process of interacting with the CLI. And as probably you're aware of, we have the token builder that is coming soon. But the first version of the token builder is going to have a monetary policy that is predefined. For the ones that don't remember what the monetary policy is, it's basically a set of rules that need to be obeyed when the minting is done. Now, instead of having that predefined. In the future, we are going to try to have like some building process where you can define who are the addresses that need to sign the minting of the token, and the other logic that you want to include. And in general, we want to make sure that that process is flawless and that you have more visibility of the tokens that you have minted and the addresses that are using those tokens.
That's great, Book. So we're looking at not only user experience of interaction, but user experience in terms of the functionality, right? The types of scripts, how people put monetary policies in, and what they want to do with the tokens in general, because that you and I have discussed quite a bit on the token lifecycle management. These are things that we're going to be working on towards in our roadmap, and we'll be transparent with the community as usual and bring you guys in. You know, another sneak peek into what we're doing is on the Daedalus side with the UI for native tokens. We've been working on designs, and we're going to start bringing you guys in to take a look at it. They're very simple right now, but the point is to just continue to build upon that whole voice of customer bit, which we're doing with Daedalus, and you'll see that soon. The other one, and I'm going to mention this, is the ERC20 converter, which is the other part of the multi-asset program that Book's in charge of. And that testing is going on pretty well. And actually, we will be showing a demo here on this show that Book's going to be leading.
Yep.
So this is the new ERC20 converter. Since we are getting closer to the launch, we redesigned the dashboard so that it's in line with the Cardano branding. So I'm just going to showcase you some of the basic functionality that you'll be able to access on the testnet. So the first thing that I need to do is, of course, connect my MetaMask account. And then what I want to do is convert some DAI from the Ethereum network to the Cardano. Now, I already have 10 cents of DAI converted, but I want to convert $10 more. This is going to be the address that the funds are going to be sent to. The address is something that I set up on the first authentication, the same as MetaMask. So I can trigger a convert now. I need to sign the transaction. And as soon as the transaction is confirmed on the network, I'm just going to see, basically 10 DAI and 10 cents here. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. And here you go. Now, the next thing I want to do is create a token. Now I can choose like a symbol of a token, for example, HV and hello world. Then I can mint 1,000 tokens, and those 1,000 tokens are going to be sent to this address, and this monetary policy is going to be used. As I mentioned earlier, this monetary policy is predefined, and this monetary policy is currently controlled by us because this is necessary for this version of the token builder. In the future, you'll be able to change the monetary policy, but we'll also allow you to basically build the monetary policy through a UI so that you don't need to write code in order to mint tokens. I'm now going to create this token, and I'm going to see hello world tokens here. I can mint more tokens, for example, 1,000 more. And you can see that I have 2,000 HV tokens here. So basically that's about it. I'm hoping that you're going to like the testnet version, and see you soon. Bye.
All right, and then finally, I'm sure everybody's very interested in knowing kind of the timelines for this. And I'm going to put up a slide here, which you'll kind of see timeline through December when we started the rollout of the pre-production environment through Feb, the end of Feb. So the pre-production environment will run with node, I believe it's 1.24.2, which was the last node release we did on this. And we're going to keep it alive because a lot of people have created, like we said, 300 plus tokens. And so we're going to keep that alive. We're not going to respin that. However, we did get some feedback from stake pool operators that wanted to test out the logistics, stake pool logistics and certain things like that a little earlier than what we had originally proposed before the Hardfork Combinator event. So what we did was we added a staging environment, which has a faucet and had some other relays, things like that, that they are able to work with. And then what we're going to do is fork our Cardano public testnet with the new node version 1.25, which has the multi-asset standards built in. And that is going to take us through to the Hardfork Combinator event, which puts it on mainnet. So there you have it, kind of the flow of all the different environments. It's the pre-prod stays alive, the staging for our stake pool operators to play around with, and then the public testnet with the new node release. So those are your three environments before mainnet.
Okay, so Aparna, I mean, maybe just ask me the question as a follow-up to that. It'd be good to know and to really share everybody. Native tokens, the way that we're implementing them on Cardano is really quite a different approach, isn't it? Perhaps you can just tell us a little bit more about why it's different on Cardano and why that matters.
Right. We went into this in the last show as well. I mean, native tokens on Cardano, the way the design works, it's treated very much like ADA in a lot of respects. And we had a nice visual last time to show exactly where those the synergies lay with all of that. Now, we are focusing on that as a value proposition, but we haven't really forgotten even the user experience or why people would create native tokens and what's going to happen to those native tokens. How do custom monetary policies come into play? How do they interact with native tokens? Fee structure, that's another thing on the roadmap. So we are getting to that point where we want to look beyond just the basic functionality that you're seeing in the pre-production environment. And that's coming out pretty soon. So for now, we're focused on CLI tools. We'll eventually get to a deadless screen with the native token capabilities. The token builder is going to bring a lot of user-friendly ways of creating and minting these tokens. And then as we go into the future, we're going to look into the token lifecycle management piece that I spoke to Book about. But for now, like paying fees in ADA is kind of our first step. And then we want to evolve to something a little more advanced and user-friendly going forward. And of course, we'll keep you guys abreast of what's happening on the roadmap in the show.
Okay, well, talking of roadmap, of course, for all the native token functionality to be deployed on Cardano, we need another Hardfork Combinator non-event. So we caught up with the inimitable Kevin Hammond to tell us the latest on what to expect there. So Kevin, welcome back. Thanks again for joining us on the show. We have another Hardfork Combinator event coming up, another Cardano upgrade. What can we look forward to this time?
Yeah, well, it's all getting very fun over here, Tim. So we're in the process of rolling out one hard fork after another. And the Allegra hard fork, I think we said before, this was very, very boring in the sense that nothing bad happened, which is exactly what you want for a hard fork. So we introduced new features, everything worked, everything kept working, the stake pools kept producing blocks, and things progressed as normal. With the new hard fork, things will also progress, we expect, exactly as normal. In fact, we've been running Mary capable nodes since December. We've had the launchpad up and running, and various people have been minting tokens on the launchpad, playing around with the new features. And we're therefore very, very confident that when we get to the hard fork date, that everything will just run smoothly. So fundamentally, what it's all about is introducing native tokens into the Cardano world. We're calling these multi-asset tokens. And the idea is that in addition to being able to deal with Cardano, which is the administrative token, it's the token that has external value, what we'll be able to do is to allow users to create and to distribute and to trade their own dedicated token types. So, for example, you could have a TIM token that you could mint a number of. You could distribute these to various Cardano users. They can trade them on. And then when the time comes, people can trade in their TIM tokens, and in return, they get a nice photograph of you. That's one possibility.
Yes, I'm glad you're not working on the marketing propositions, Kevin, but I like the
Yeah,
sound
sure. I'm just a technical guy, Tim, and I'm trying to sell this to you. Right?
I actually saw that somebody in the pre-production environment, which we've also been calling Launchpad, haven't we? I noticed actually somebody had minted a Tim token, but there was only a market cap of 5 tokens, which I was a bit disappointed
Right.
about. But
Okay.
never mind, we
Yes,
can
yes.
hope. So tell me, Kevin, we've had some activity in the pre-production environment, and we've seen a few tokens created. What is the next stage now? I guess there's a period on the test net before we actually go to mainnet. Is there after that pre-production environment?
Yeah, we've just literally today signed off the hard fork event on the staging testnet. So that's happening or should be happening as we speak. Moving forward on that, then we'll expose this to stake pool operators. They'll be able to come along, try things out. They'll have exactly the release versions to play around with, to sort out any issues with tooling, etc. Because of course, when we start to introduce native tokens, some of the administration becomes a bit more complicated. When you're sending when you're sending transactions, for example, you now need to know that you may perhaps be sending or receiving native tokens in addition to ADA. So quite a lot of the scripts and other tooling that the operators have been using needs to be adjusted for that. But they've had plenty of warning of these things. The other thing that's going to happen at the same time as the Mary Hardfork is we're releasing a new node version 125, and that is reported to be much more efficient than the existing version. So expect to see performance improvements in the operation of the network. It's not just stake pool operators that we're doing this for. So working very, very hard behind the scenes with hardware wallet providers, with exchanges, with other third parties to make sure that even if they can't initially deal with native tokens themselves, that the tooling is still going to keep working when we do move to a situation where we have native tokens as well as ADA in the Cardano ecosystem.
So let's just dig a little bit further into that, Kevin, for those people who've maybe missed this part of the story. Native tokens, the way that we're handling those on Cardano is quite different, isn't it? I mean, the ADA token and the non-ADA token is effectively going to be treated as the same class of citizen. Is that right?
They're effectively the same class of citizen, except of course that ADA is primus inter pares. It's the first amongst many tokens. You will still need to pay for the cost of transactions using ADA. So all of the administrative operations that are performed on the network, these will be costed up in ADA. So you will, whenever you send native tokens around, there's always going to have to be some ADA going along with it to pay for the cost of the transaction, to pay for the cost of maintaining the storage that's associated with the native tokens, etc. So ADA is still incredibly important. But in addition, you'll have all these other token types that any Cardano user will be able to create. They'll be able to construct policies describing how the tokens are minted. And there are various types of policies that can be constructed. So you can, for example, say, well, any one of 10 individuals have the right to create new tokens of this type. So if you've got a pool of token distributors, you can assign rights to them to create the tokens, for example. And what we're expecting is this is going to give rise to complete new classes of user of Cardano. In addition to ADA holders, in addition to the stake pool operators, we're expecting to see individuals whose business is to transact in terms of these native tokens, who may produce the native tokens, exchange them for items of value, potentially intrinsic value, off-chain value, who will perhaps broker between exchanges of different token types. And we're thinking here, for example, that there could be both fungible and non-fungible tokens. By fungible, we just mean all the tokens can be equally exchanged, and by non-fungible, we mean each token has some unique value. These things could be the deeds to a property. They could be They could be share certificates, anything that you want to record on chain and that you want to be able to exchange.
If people want to get involved with native tokens, we've had the pre-production environment. We'll be moving towards the Cardano testnet. What do people do if they want to try out building their own NFTs, or if SPOs want to start creating their own loyalty reward schemes or anything like that?
Yeah, so the first thing, of course, is to install a copy of the Cardano node. Now, the good news is that it doesn't need to be, you don't need quite as much experience as you do to be a stake pool operator. So stake pool operators obviously are very well placed to run the node, to mint tokens. But if you're just minting your own tokens, then all you really need to do is, for example, to you download Docker to use the Docker image. There are instructions being put together to explain to you how to do that, or you can download a pre-built image for Linux and use that. And if you want to go the whole hog, you're very welcome to download, or you're particularly paranoid, you can of course download and build the node from source. We're working at the moment on trying to smooth out the build process. It's taking longer than we would like using one of the build tools that we have. We'll be trying to optimize that going forwards. So read the documentation. Don't feel put off by all the things that you would need to know to be a block producing node operator, a stake pool operator. You don't need to do much of that. All you need to do is to be able to run a relay node and to be able to build and submit transactions to that node. And we're working on making that process even simpler as we go forward to launch. There will, and beyond launch, Daedalus, for example, will be able to deal with native tokens. We can expect tooling to assist people with constructing and burning their own tokens in due course. I won't give the exact product release schedule here.
Well, obviously, if anyone's watching again and you want to get involved, there'll be a link below to the DevNets program and the Native Tokens Developer Support Program. Sign up via the type form, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Meanwhile, Kevin, thank you very much, and as ever, see you on the other side.
Great, nice chat to you, Tim. Bye.
All right, well, that was nice catching up with Kevin on the Merry Hardfork event. So that's coming up, or the non-event, as you guys call it. So that's coming up here pretty soon. It's going to set us up very nicely for the multi-asset piece of the Goguen program. Another piece that I think is worth mentioning, and it is a pretty big deal, is before the holiday season, we went to the DevNet concept, which is going to be a prevalent concept with this project in general, just to be able to get developers in playing with tools and giving us feedback, like I've mentioned in the past. But this DevNet was with the KevM product, and we're actually going to be even furthering that even more with the Glow integration and so on and so forth. So we caught up with both Ben and with Vuk. One's leading the community side and one's leading the product side on lessons learned and what's happened with that. So let's take a look. So Vuk, during the holiday season late last year, we kind of kicked off the DevNet program. So I'm jumping right in. Tell us about the DevNet program. Tell us what we've done with it and where we're going.
Yeah, so with the DevNet program, we wanted to give a place to developers where they can get all the information they need to get started developing in the Cardano ecosystem. Now, the first step for that was actually to release the KVM DevNet. And in fact, we have something like 120 people currently developing on that net. But we are not stopping there. In fact, we are working on the Glow integration as well, which is going to allow people to write contracts in the Glow language. And they can choose as a target the EVM first. But in the future, it's going to be possible for them to also use as a target the Bluetooth target. So basically, with one language, you'll be able to develop dApps both for the DevNet, which is in future going to become the sidechain, but also for the Bluetooth mainnet, which is very, very powerful.
So Ben, you've also been heavily involved in the DevNets program from a community perspective. perhaps you can just give us a bit of an update of some of the things we've been doing in that area and what people can expect, and of course how any developers out there watching today can get involved.
Yeah, so it has been going really well. If you want to get involved, you can go to developers.cardano.org, where there's a type form registration. I've also put a link in my Twitter bio, Ben O'Hanlon, and I would expect we'll be able to drop one in the link to this chat. So what happened was, over the holidays, we were running video check-ins. We set the community up. We had about 250 people register in the email list. We're doing kind of staged invitations to the DevNet Slack. So we have 130 people who are members at the moment. We've set up in January DevNet's report to C-suite. So leadership are getting eyeballs on sort of what's happening. We're encouraging referrals from within the DevNet. You know, I've already seen community self-organized meetups. I think one of them is called Blockchain Developers United. They have a membership of 2,531 people. And then what's coming up next is second round of invites are going to come out. So if you are interested, register to that form and you may get an invite. If you are already a member, you are welcome to invite anybody that's also a developer and shares that interest with you. So yeah, it's been really good.
So what I really like about this program is it allows us to do what we call user acceptance testing, early stage, mid stage, late stage. You know, another great program that we're running separately is the Catalyst program. So it funds innovation on a different level, but we're trying to merge these two together. So look, just, you know, talk about how we're doing that with the Catalyst community.
We are working closely with DOR on actually allowing people to get some funding that will help them get started on all the development environments that we are going to provide. We have seen so much activity in the past couple of weeks. In fact, that's something DOR spoke on the town hall a couple of days back. And yeah, I invite all those people that got the funding to actually join the DevNet group, and we'll help them get started, and we'll give them the right tools that they need to use. We'll give them some guidance. We know the roadmap. We know what's coming first, what's stable enough. We can give them some good advice that will help them actually get the product to market.
So a really powerful combination, hopefully, where we're not only recruiting development talent, we're also giving them a forum to refine their ideas with the rest of the community and indeed get funded to develop those ideas. So yeah, very, very exciting times. Ben, Vuk, thank you very much for joining us. And of course, remember, link at the bottom of the screen if you want to get involved. Okay, so we've mentioned user experience already, and we've mentioned Daedalus, but a big part of the user experience for Daedalus is how the community and how its users interact with us. Just before Christmas, we kicked off a big survey to try and really understand what you think of Daedalus and where you want to see it go next. Let's get Ben back on and talk a little bit about that survey and what we found out.
We ran a huge survey on the Daedalus. Actually, it was supposed to be the delegation screen, but it ended up being a full experience type of survey. And we cut that up into personas. Really, we looked at 3 different viewpoints, and the viewpoints match the personas. The process is something that I've been wanting to really build into our product development. It's VOC in other industries. In our industry, it's voice of community. So we bring the community into our design process because ultimately it's you guys that are going to be using these tools and using the technology that we have. So we want to ensure that it's not only user friendly, but it also works from a technology standpoint in the way that makes it delightful in a way. So Ben and Mike and Darko and Haley, who's our product marketer, all got in a room and we came up with the survey, and Ben's done a great job as the face of the community leading it and getting the feedback. And then Mike takes over from the analytics side of things. And then Haley and Darko will come out of it from an ideation session perspective with some wireframes and some features that you guys will be exposed to and see in some of the upcoming shows as well. So very excited about this process.
Should we just kick off? Maybe just tell us just briefly a little bit about the methodology and what we were really trying to hope to achieve from this survey.
So I think there are some things that we thought intuitively we knew, but that's different to be able to quantifiably point to data in a discussion, And so what we were really looking to do is test our assumptions, and also when you gather data, you want to be able to compare and contrast it too. So like Aparna said, it was really important that we didn't just survey people that were using the wallet. We wanted to understand other stakeholders like stateful operators and the team too. So we had 3 separate surveys, and I can say we had a really high response rate. It was over 5,400, 5,500 for the wallet users. So my best guess is that that is like over 10% of wallet users. So really, really representative, really, really high response. The stateful operators, we probably had around 40% respond to that survey, So yeah, huge uptake, and we got a lot of information. Even the data that you guys have looked at and we've shared internally, there's a lot of qual data in there too, questions like thoughts, long form answers. It's been really interesting to read.
So maybe just dive straight in and have a look at some of that, a little bit of a summary of some of the feedback, because obviously, as Aparna says, the perspective of the community is going to be essential in kind of creating the products that the community wants going forwards. And as our audiences and our stakeholders expand, we'll be doing more of this. Let's have a look at where we are now, and also maybe bring out some of those differences in views between those stakeholders.
Perspective is a great way to say it, actually, because there were different perspectives. So here's a summary of what we're looking at. But off the top of my head, I know that the average rating for the wallet was 4.2 for a delegator. That's a wallet user. Over 90% have been using the wallet as their main wallet. So these are people that are using it habitually. So they're really pleased with it. This is the delegators, the ADA holders. Conversely, the SPOs had an average rating of 3.2 and much lower ratings for whether or not they trust the ranking system, because it's really important to, running a business, running a stake pool. So what we were able to do is, back up what we knew, which is there was a big disparity between how delegators and users of the wallet felt and how SPOs felt. But it also, I've watched Mike being able to drive discussions in team calls using that data, and that's why it's been so valuable. The summary of recommendations you're having a look at here, the must-haves: improve the delegation experience, reimagine the ranking system, and for stateful operators, increasing trust and faith that it's fair and working in the best interest of the delegators. When you would ask delegators what was the most important feature, often it would be ROI, but there was a lot of people that felt it was decentralization of the network too. So when you talk about perspectives, what people's aims are can sometimes be different. Do they want return of investment or return of interest, right? Interest being the vision or the decentralization or what they're hoping Cardano is going to achieve. Some other really interesting learnings and insights that I can share is that when we were looking at where stateful operators got their news and their intelligence and how they kept up to date with the Cardano system, we could see that it was Twitter. They used Twitter by far as where all of them were. If you compare that to wallet users, I was surprised, other people weren't, but the primary channel was YouTube, right, which is where they're getting their news and resources from. And what's interesting too is that those delegators and aid holders are probably in the ecosystem. And Aparna and I were talking about, we're going to have aid holders coming in who are new, and so maybe some future insights would be looking at, when people are new, where did they find out about Cardano and what news sources do they use to get there? Yeah, so some good stuff that Mike pulled out was that people were asking for password locks. I know tax was something that came up, how people can do their taxes, inline help and general improved help. Multi-currency wallets was nice to have, and improved news feeds. And I guess that's do people want a wallet that's going to be minimalist and very good at displaying the information correctly, or do they want a hub? I would say, in summary, there are a lot more questions. When you go through all the data and you read everybody's feedback, it humanizes the people that you're serving. So I think that's, on a personal level, that's what I found. Actually reading everybody's feedback slowly turned it from just data to, wow, there were like a lot of stories and needs and wants in here. So yeah, it was very fun.
When you work with products, you always have to look at the user persona and how empathy plays in to them solving their issues. And here we actually have a prioritization, which is really nice. I mean, the must-haves, the want-to-haves, the nice-to-haves. So you look at a product, you have the core. It's like why people actually use the product. Why do they come and use Daedalus, for example, right? And then you look at the outer pieces, which are more about the UX, and why would they continue to use Daedalus? So there are two different things. And we have a lot of why people use Daedalus. I mean, that's what we've really focused on is the technology, the security, the full node feature sets. We even brought in Flight to innovate. But why would they continue to use it? That's when you have to get into the nice to have, some of the must haves that really set the product apart. So for example, here, improving the delegation experience makes perfect sense from both perspectives. Do I want an easy button? Do I want all the data to make the decisions, right? So that is something we're ideating upon right now in how to do that. The ranking system. I mean, I look at it more like a sort system, but when it comes to ranking system, there's quite a bit of critique as well as opinions on how this would work. But it's really an optimal way of being able to allow the community to choose and have decentralization work with the network and with the operators. And absolutely, transparency into that system was one of the #1 requests. And I truly believe that's true. We should be able to provide that. So that's something else we're looking at in terms of the product. Then finally, like multi-delegation was a piece of it. Like, how do I separate out my delegation portfolios, especially as we improve the K parameter and increase it? You're going to have more choices. So how do I handle those choices? And can I separate them out? That is very high on our priority list from a product standpoint into how this can set us apart so our users have the best possible delegation and our stake pool operators have the best transparency into the system for both sides to succeed. So we will share these screens. There's also technology challenges and technology considerations to think about when you're designing these things, but we've always been a very transparent project and will continue to be so. So on upcoming shows, you're going to see some designs and wireframes, and we'll also work on timelines and when we can put some of these things into flight so people can play around with it and use it and give us the feedback.
This is one of the early stages of the process, but overall we're building a lot more kind of data points generally, aren't we, into the different stakeholder relationships we have. Perhaps tell people a little bit more about some of the other work that you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, so we're working on better communication to help people, observation within the ecosystem and keep up to date with what's going on within those. So say like the stake pool operator digest or soon to come, a developer digest. We want to have some universal metrics. So people like Tim and Aparna, when we're reporting on different spaces in the ecosystem, there needs to be some kind of top level universal way of gauging it. And we're using a net promoter score. So that's based on, would the person recommend the experience, So we're looking at top line metrics so that leadership can get a feel for what's going on. And then also I was talking with Aparna about possibility of, some of this intelligence and the processes she's putting in place and the learnings, some of that could be shared with stake pool operators too, right, Aparna? Like, I mean, something like the personas, we could do an SPO friendly version of them.
Yes, absolutely. The more knowledgeable they are and the more in sync they are with how we're looking at product development, it will help their small to medium businesses, right? So it'll help their businesses and operating the network. So
that's what's really fun to me, right? Like the intelligence and stuff and like what I'm learning with you and Tim, and then thinking like we could bring this to the SPOs as well, right? And then it's a much more kind of
synergistic. Ben, you've been great. You've been a great face of the community, and especially also for the SPOs. So I just want to give shout out to you because this has been a very collaborative relationship in general. So appreciate that.
Ben, thanks very much for joining us.
Right, so obviously here at IO, we're focused on Daedalus. It's the product that we are creating from the wallet end, but we also have other organizations that have their own wallets and are privy to some of the features that we have so they can put it into their product. One such wallet is the Yoroi wallet, and it's with our sister organization, Emergos, that we're keeping close contact with. So we actually reached out to Sebastian and Nico and asked them to do kind of like a little update on Yoroi, and they did. So let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Nicolas Arqueros. I'm the CTO of Emurgo, and also with me, we have Sebastian Guillemot, VP of Engineering at Emurgo. Today, we're going to be talking about a 1 year look back for Emurgo and our favorite product, Yoroi. So I think it would be good to just do a quick recap. What is Emurgo for the viewers that don't know it? So Emurgo is a multinational blockchain technology company providing solutions for developers, startups, enterprises, and governments. And also we are one of the founding entities behind Cardano. So what are we going to be talking today is like an update about what has been going on and everything that's related to the efforts from Emurgo towards Cardano. So Cardano related initiatives. So we are going to be talking about Yoroi for desktop, iOS, Android. Also, we are going to mention a little bit of like the work that you then get to see as a user, but it's like they're supporting Yoroi and so many other things, which are like the Cardano serialization library, other libraries that are like required for iOS, Android. Some of the research that we are doing, because as you may know, Cardano is UTXO based, and most of the blockchains out there with smart contracts are account based. So a lot of things work differently. So we also have done research on how to do things for this new model. And also we have some other initiatives that we have been working on for the past year.
All right, so now I'm going to talk about the Yoroi wallet. So for those who don't know, Yoroi wallet is a light wallet for Cardano and recently also supports the Ergo cryptocurrency. So this wallet is available on 2 major platforms, that's to say on mobile through Android and iOS, and also in your browser as a browser extension, which is available in Firefox, Chrome, and Edge. So we launched this product back in 2018, and it's been a huge success. We're now passed over 100,000 active users across all our platforms. So there's a lot of people actively using Yoroi and coming with us for our journey every step of the way. And we want to thank everybody who's using Yoroi and giving us all the feedback. So what have we done in the past year that has made Yoroi so successful? So for the Yoroi extension, we really spent 2020 focusing on removing as many limitations as possible to really unleash the full capabilities of the Yoroi wallet. So 1 year ago, we only supported 1 wallet per install. And this is because when we released Yoroi, we wanted to have the simplest possible product to see if people would be interested in a light wallet. And people were. And so we expanded to have multiple wallets per install. So you can manage multiple recovery phrases all from the same Yoroi extension. Similarly, we used to support only 1 cryptocurrency. Now we support 2. We support Cardano and Ergo. We do it on purpose to support only a small number of cryptocurrencies because there's many wallets out there that support hundreds of cryptocurrencies, and usually their integration is very shallow and very meaningless. You can only send and receive, and that's it. And we want to support a small number of cryptocurrencies, but really have deep support for them and support the full functionality of that cryptocurrency. That's why we only have 2, but having 2 is a big milestone for us, and I think it'll benefit all Yoroi users. Another thing is we now support multiple networks. That's to say for Cardano, we support both the mainnet and the testnet. So for developers who are using Cardano to build tooling, they can now use Yoroi through the testnet to experiment with their tools before releasing to the public. And we've also recently released multi-asset support for both Ergo, and we'll have multi-asset support for Cardano once the Mary Hardfork releases, probably sometime February or March. And what that means is that in Cardano and Ergo, you can create custom tokens. For example, it's kind of like ERC20, so you create custom tokens to represent stable coins or other kinds of assets, and you can send and receive those assets on top of ADA. And so now we support the UI and the experience for multiple assets. We're excited to roll that out once Cardano supports that. And we used to only support the ITN, the incentivized testnet for Cardano, but now we have full staking support for Cardano mainnet, beautiful dashboards. You can manage your staking delegation, and a lot of people love our dashboards. It really helps you understand and visualize what is going on with your stake pool. We also used to only support 1 explorer, but now we support multiple explorers. So when you use Yoroi, you can pick which explorer you want to use to get your data from. And so you can use different data sources You don't have to rely on one data source, which we think is important. And then we also added a lot more restoration methods. So we used to only support basic restoration with 15-word recovery phrase, but now we support multiple different kinds of restoration to get more competitively with different kinds of wallet software out there. For example, now if you're a Daedalus user and you have your recovery phrase on Daedalus, you can use the exact same recovery phrase on Yoroi, and it'll just work if you have a Schley wallet. So we're really happy with that. So for Yoroi Mobile, we've also been doing work. The main thing we did was we rewrote the way the whole system worked for how Cardano was supported. So the problem with the mobile-based system is that you need a mobile SDK. And historically, we didn't have a mobile SDK for Cardano. So we had to handwrite a bunch of really ugly code to get it all working for the first version of Yoroi. But as of last year, we rewrote the whole system to a new system called Cardano Serialization Lib, which is a library we wrote at Emergo. And this is a full SDK for Cardano written in Rust. And it makes it not only so much easier for us to maintain Yoroi Mobile, but also this SDK is now being used by many exchanges and many other wallets, including other mobile wallets. And so it's great that all the work we put in to have a great SDK for Cardano that also supports mobile browsers is being used, not only by us, but by so many other companies as well. Also, Yoroi Mobile also supports delegation now. And so you can delegate on the go on your Yoroi Mobile. And we used to only support one kind of wallet restoration, but now we support Ledger wallets also. We support both Nano S on Android and then X on both iOS and Android.
So we have a lot of updates related to Yoroi, as you have heard from Seba. And as also he mentioned, there is a lot of work that's behind what you see. And for example, the Cardano serialization library is like so critical, not only for the wallet, but also for other potential tools, for example, for metadata, and also for even exchanges. So there is a specific tooling created by Coinbase called Rosetta, which allows to exchanges to be able to use standardized ways to connect to different blockchains. And one of the libraries that is powering this is the Cardano serialization library made by Emurgo. Also in the research part, we have put a lot of effort because, as we mentioned before, Cardano works with a UTXO model versus the account-based model, which other blockchains work like Ethereum, Tezos, Algorand, so many others. The difference, for example, when I want to make a transfer to Seba, and I'm going to be using my bank, and I want to transfer to Seba $13.41, I can transfer the specific amount. But UTXO works like a little bit more like when you pay with cash when you go to the supermarket. So for example, if you are going to buy something that's $4.90 and you pay with $5, you're going to get a change, 10 cents back. So this seems like a small change, but change how everything works. And we have been doing a lot of work on how you can create smart contracts and complex protocols using this different model, which is like really important. And we have open source all research. And we already like have deployed one initiative, which is like the Oracle initiative, which we are going to be using from Yoroi as well. This is everything for now. It feels like a little brief, but we wanted to keep it like this. And I hope that you can ask questions and that you can try the new features and the latest updates from Yoroi. I don't know if Seba, you also want to add something.
Yeah, so the part of this presentation was to talk about what we did in 2020. And also you can see we accomplished a lot. And 2021 will just be more of that. We have a bunch of cool stuff we're working on. And there's going to be some announcements coming in the next few months, especially as smart contracts start to roll out on Cardano. So I'm really excited to continue on this journey with you. And thank you all for using Yoroi.
So thanks to Nico and Sebastian for that update on Yoroi. And while we're on the subject of Emergo, make sure you don't miss some of the action from the Ergo Summit, including our very own Bruno, who gave a very interesting presentation on the research collab that we've done with Emergo around the stable coin. We'll drop the link in right now so that you can watch that at your leisure. So thanks for sticking with us. Coming up a bit later on the show, we'll have an update on Project Catalyst. We'll also be talking to Jerry, our commercial director, about some of the enterprise adoption plans for Cardano. And we'll also be hearing from Danelle and Mark from the Atala Prism project to hear the very latest from them and to see a demo of the product in action. So all that coming up later. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to subscribe and to like to get those alerts straight away. I think it's time now for a bit of an update on Project Catalyst. So we asked Eric, who's one of the guys in my team who's been really looking after this project, to catch up with Dor, who we always love hearing from. And then from that, we'll straight go into actually some of the stars of Fund 2, some of the projects that have been awarded funding, to hear from them directly about what they're doing and how it's going.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Zuleger. I am the senior content editor for IOHK, and today I am joined by the man who is leading Cardano towards on-chain governance with Project Catalyst, Dor Garbash. So diving right in, Dor, we have just financed the winners of Fund 2, and we are now moving on to the world of Fund 3. How are they different?
Many ways. I'm just going to highlight a few ones. Well, the biggest one is the amount of funding. We had $250,000 worth of ADA for Fund 2, and now it's $500,000 worth of ADA for Fund 3. Secondly, we had in Fund 2 we had just one challenge. Okay, it was all about encouraging devs and entrepreneurs to join the ecosystem. This time around in Fund 3, we are having three different challenges. One about creating dApps. The second is about basically building the developer ecosystem, so both like tooling and marketing. And the third challenge is a really special one, which is basically, it's about the community defining for themselves what new challenges they want to see in Fund 5. Okay, so basically, up to now, we had the Catalyst team was basically defining the challenges and the criteria, how success looks like, etc. So now we're moving into a very new paradigm where the community itself is defining the goals and the metrics and the definition of success for Fund 5. So that's going to be a really revolutionary thing, and actually it's like the first step of the community towards emancipation. Okay, so the ability to, as we call it, self-determination. Okay, so the community determining for themselves what are the goals. So really, really important, and it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and self-determination is really what on-chain governance is all about for Cardano. But with that being said, how's it going? Where are we in Fund 3, and where are we off to next?
Well, right now we're experiencing really rapid growth. Only this week we grew by 10%. We had, and now we have 5,500 members registered on ID Scale. There's 188 proposals on the ballot, about 1,000 comments made by community members to give constructive feedback to the proposers. We have around 600 community advisors registered to review these proposals and kind of give it kind of like an official rating. And this week we're just approaching the finalization stage, which means that all these proposing teams, all the 188 proposing teams, are going to look at all the feedback they received, and they have kind of a week to revise their proposal according to the feedback and prepare it for review by community advisors.
Wow. So obviously there's been a lot of growth in Project Catalyst and a lot of interest in it. But, I think it's important to remember that Project Catalyst is a series of experiments at its core. And we're trying to encourage everyone to participate. And this means everyone from ADA holders to people who just have a great idea about developing the Cardano ecosystem. So for people out there who don't know that they can participate, how do they get involved?
Very, very simple. you just go to the IDScale site and the Cardano instance of it, and you register. It's gonna be like they're making a URL right here, or maybe here. So just go register, explore all the amazing innovative proposals. So it's not just like specific proposals for funding, but it's also proposals about what direction are we headed into. Okay, really, really important stuff. Like Fund3 is going to be very critical, really a major experiment in our roadmap.
Awesome. Dor, thank you so much. And for everybody watching out there, remember, go over to IdeaScale, find Project Catalyst, get involved. If you're an ADA holder, if you just have a great idea, get involved. It is worth it. All right. Thank you so much, Dor.
Thank you.
Hey Cardano community, my name is Dwayne Cameron. I'm the founder of the Liquid Protocol, and I'm joined with Florian Valery, who's our Chief Product Lead. First, I want to start this video by saying thank you to the entire community for voting us into the Fund 2 cohort. We're really excited to be a part of the first decentralized funding wave on Cardano. Right now, we're looking at the initial wireframes for the Liquid Protocol, the decentralized money market system that we're building on top of Cardano. As we can see, as you go through the website and the in-app view, users will be able to supply and earn interest on their deposits or borrow against their supply using it as collateral within our system. Now I want to hand it over to our Chief Product Lead, Florian.
And actually, we want to take the best of what is already existing on the DeFi in Ethereum, put it in the EVM machine, and then improve it with our own features.
We are Maria.
Shweta.
Keith.
We are part of Lovelace Academy.
At Lovelace Academy, we aim to attract, inspire, and educate the builders and visionaries to build on top of Cardano's game-changing smart contracts and native assets platform.
Apart from that, we will also target countries with huge potential like India and Brazil, and will inspire developers from developing nations to build on Cardano.
We are dreamers, and we are trying to make something very smart here to bring more people to our ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Hello, we are the RENA user group, sponsored by GLBB Japan. And I'm standing right out in front of GLBB Japan currently. Our Ouroboros over RENA project was funded by Catalyst Fund 2. Ouroboros over RENA will deploy a stake pool and relay node at 2 data centers in Tokyo. This is deployed on the proof of concept using the R-Lite stack. We're going to work to provide a native RENA solution in the future to help provide scalability for the Cardano blockchain. And I just really want to say thank you, Cardano community, for this opportunity.
Hello everyone. My name is Damian Ostrolic, and my Project Catalyst proposal is called Haskell, Plutus, and Marlov Education. The goal of the project is to create educational content for these 3 languages that will help newcomers to Cardano start their journey as smart contract developers. Hopefully, this will encourage and help drive the adoption of Cardano. I would like to thank everyone who voted and showed support for this project. Thank you very much.
Hi, Cardano community. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you for supporting our project. I am Julie.
I'm James.
And I'm Roberto.
And we're Gimbal Labs, and our proposal is called Cardano Starter Kits and APIs. Our vision is a world where as many people as possible are empowered to solve problems using the Cardano platform.
Our mission is to mobilize everyone in the Cardano community by creating tools and real-world use cases that ignite the public imagination and facilitate adoption. We're focused on publishing Cardano starter kits and deploying free open source APIs, as well as creating a valuable network of collaborators.
With the Project Catalyst funds, we are building foundations by creating systems for achieving these goals. We look forward to sharing more soon.
I'm Daniel from Cardano for Mobile Developers. Cardano for Mobile Developers is an initiative from Tesseract. Tesseract is our company that is focused on solving blockchain usability issues. And we are so glad and so grateful to receive this grant, which allows us to focus on Cardano's specific usability issues. And we want to start with mobile. What this grant allows us to do now is to lay down the very foundation for all our work on top of in Cardano, which is the SDK for Swift, which basically allows the Cardano developers to create native decentralized applications and native wallets using native development tools from Apple for iOS. We have so much more stuff on top of that we want to add to Cardano that will solve more of the usability issues of blockchain. And I would love to tell more about this, but I guess not this time, a bit later. And thank you, everyone.
All right, that's great. Catching up with Dor and also the winners of the Catalyst Fund. It's one of my favorite projects, Tim, just because it's worked so well in how we've kind of guided the community into becoming more and more self-governing in terms of how they go about innovation, and then the funding, the incentivization. I mean, that's just cherry on the top with it all. So it's really giving us a good base, and I'm very hopeful for the project to start working with our other areas of Cardano, like Goguen and the developer acquisition piece, and how do we fund developers to work with Plutus and work with Marlowe and work with some of the other Goguen programs as well. So really looking forward to this program just growing this year. Another thing that we did is we caught up with the Atala team, is specifically around identity. Now, this is a very important project for Cardano and for blockchains in general, because identity is one of those key use cases in the market. Whether or not it's privacy, it gives you a sense of security, but it also allows for, if identity is a first-class citizen on the chain, there's so many different services that you can certify, identify, verify, that gives you peace of mind when you're doing transactions, whether it's payment apps or whether it's even stake pools and delegation. There's so much that we've thought about in our roadmap. And the Atala team really is bringing a lot of that thought leadership to the table. So let's roll that clip.
So Danelle, Mark, welcome back to the show. It's been a little while since we had you on. I think it's time for an Atala update, isn't it? Danelle, perhaps you just want to remind everybody a little bit about Atala and where we are at the moment.
Thanks, Tim. It's great to be back on the show. So let's start with what is Atala Prism. In a nutshell, Atala Prism is a solution that empowers people to own their data. It's being built based on self-sovereign identity principles, and the architecture we've used is based on specifications from the Decentralized Identity Foundation. The solution itself consists of two parts. So there's the Decentralized Identity Platform and a product suite that enables digital identity and verifiable credential use cases. So the digital identity and verifiable credential use cases are really the first application on the platform itself. We anticipate many other use cases, for example, building credit reporting systems for the unbanked, or messaging solutions that allow richer relationships between enterprises and customers, or even next generation versions of Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube when you couple together what we're building with Atala and the tech that's coming through with Hydra. So where are we right now? We've achieved a major milestone actually at the end of last year. We now have a working end-to-end solution that we've been able to demo to the Georgian stakeholders. So right now I can say and summarize and say that Atala Prism is technically ready. We're now focused on commercial and operational readiness, if that makes sense.
And of course, Atala Prism is leading the charge for the whole product suite, but obviously it's just the beginning of the story, really. But Mark, let's maybe bring you in now. I think a lot of people will be wanting to have a little bit of a closer look. We've talked about Atala Prism a lot, and there's obviously a website which gives an overview, but I believe we've got a demo to share with people. Now, I think we've got a full-length demo that people can click through to on YouTube later, but I think you've got a little short version. You can maybe tell us a little bit about what we're going to see just now.
Yes, thanks, Tim, and thanks for having me on.
So as you said, yes, I'm going to give a quick demo of some of the applications that we've built. These are going to be web-based and also mobile-based. And essentially, it's going to show how Atala Prism can be used by organizations to create and issue verifiable credentials, and obviously for users to receive them on their mobile apps. And what I'm also going to show is how Prism can be used to create decentralized identities for organizations and individuals. And then using those decentralized identities, they can then access a variety of services.
Okay, so let's jump straight into that demo now.
So you can see in front of me, we have a couple of applications that we're currently working on. And the right-hand side is the Atala Prism mobile app. This is available in both Android and iOS. And this is used for people to receive, store and share credentials securely and privately. On the left-hand side, then we have some applications that are used for organizations. So first we have the management console, and this is a web-based application, and it's used by organizations to create and manage credentials. Integrated with that, we have the Atala Prism browser wallet. This is going to be initially a Chrome extension, and this allows organizations to create and register DIDs on the Cardano blockchain, and using those DIDs to sign credentials. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick run through of creating and issuing some credentials, and we're going to use this in the context of Atala Prism's first deployment, which is in the Republic of Georgia. So as you all know, we're working with the Ministry of Education in the Republic of Georgia to deploy Atala Prism to all the schools and universities there to allow students to receive their credentials by Atala Prism. So now let's create some credentials. So I'll just go down to credentials. So in this case, I've gone to the ceremony. I've got my paper-based degree, and I now want to be issued it digitally to the Atala Prism mobile app. So when creating credentials, there's going to be a number of different templates that I could have configured in the system. Could be an education degree, the complete transcript, maybe a student ID as well. So let's select a group for who I want to create the credentials for. And again, I'm going to do a bulk import of the credential data. Let's use a CSV file again. And you can see now 6 credential records have been imported. Now what I can do now is I can do a quick preview of all the credentials. You can see here, this is a HTML representation of the degree. And it's totally customizable to look like the real paper-based credential. So let's scroll through those. Let's just make sure we're happy with that data. And then I'll go next to confirm that. That takes just a second to create. I'm in a development environment. Okay, so now you can see those credentials being successfully created. It's now appearing in the credentials listing. We have both credentials issued and we can also receive credentials. So that's been successfully sent from the management console. And let's see that notification come in on the mobile app. Connection's a bit slow. And there's come in now. So I've got a new credential educational degree from the Free University and received at this timestamp. So let's view that in the mobile app. I can see the HTML rendering of it. And it's going to be exactly like credential in the management console. Let's view those side by side. So there they are, both the same.
Okay, Mark. Well, exciting stuff, and really great to see that in the flesh, as it were. Danelle, tell us. We talked about self-sovereign identity at the beginning, and how Atala will kind of fit into this new connected world that's being built around us. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about that, the context of blockchain technology and identity?
Yeah, sure. Well, digital identity is really the gateway to a connected world. So Atala Prism will allow users to really interact with the world around them. They'll be able to, seamlessly access public and private services, or from their mobile phone, or from the Atala Prism wallet. And really, the user experience that we're looking to deliver is, get away from passwords. You have a complete passwordless experience. You no longer need to fill out forms. If we try to reimagine the web, the kind of experience we want to deliver will be something similar to the Amazon one-click experience, where users anywhere on the web can sign in with one click and check out with one click.
So obviously, when we talk about identity, we think of a lot of different solutions, but really digital identity is absolutely the fundamental principle that you need to start building things on top of that, not least things like financial inclusion.
That's right, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about how does Atala Prism really link with the unbanked, and I think it's really important to sort of step back and understand really the systemic problems preventing the unbanked from accessing formal financial services. There are really two things. The first thing is that they lack a verified legal identity, and the second thing is that they're not able to leverage basically the credit history that they obtain in a more informal sector. So if I go and borrow credit from the shopkeeper down the road, I've got no way of taking that credit history and presenting that to my bank. So what we're looking to do really with Atala Prism is we're creating an open platform where we can work together with governments, where they can issue a verified digital identity. Any user can then use that to access both government services and public sector services. I think that's one of the benefits. So the unbanked, we're enabling them to access public services and also financial services. Second thing is that once you've got this digital identity, you can actually link with that all these financial transactions from the informal sector. So we can work together both with formal lending institutions like banks and more informal ones, and bring them onto one platform. And what that allows users to do is, when they go to the bank, they can now present their informal credit history and be able to open a bank account or access a loan. We're not the first to think of this. There's actually a project in Sierra Leone being headed up by Kiva.org, who's a massive micro-lending institution. And our tech is really ripe to be used in this use case.
So Mark, maybe from a technical perspective, first of all, you shared an initial demo. What can we expect to see over the next few months in terms of feature rollout and the general roadmap?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. As Donala said, we have an extensive roadmap, and initially we're working on being feature complete, having a fully functional MVP product that will enable us to roll out to these commercial opportunities that we're looking at. Also, the other thing is, on a non-functional way, we're looking at enhancing our scalability and our security and our performance, so that we can really reach our objectives of our user acquisition, which are very aggressive, and that's going to be key for us this year.
So Danelle, I guess the killer question: when are we going to see this in the wild? What can we expect over the months ahead?
Yeah, so it's all happening right now. Soon is the answer. We're really what we've decided to do. We've got a massive pipeline. We've decided to focus down on 3 angel clients initially. Each of these clients has potential to onboard millions of users. Each of these angel clients also helps us finish off different commercial propositions that we want to bring to market. So these are different ways that customers will be able to interact with the Prism platform. So we're working now to kind of finalize the agreements around that, and we'll announce those soon. And over the course of the year, we'll be working with these customers to kind of enable those use cases. We also want to give kind of early access to the platform for developers. So within the next couple of months, we'll be working towards having workshops where we can tell everyone about the SDKs that have already been built. And actually, we're the first customers of these SDKs. So the product suite I talked about, it's being built using these SDKs, and we want to show others how they can leverage it as well. Yeah, so soon is the answer.
Okay, look, exciting times ahead, and lots more to talk about as we go over the next few months. So Danelle, Mark, thank you both very much for joining. Okay, so on the subject of commercial propositions and thought leaderships, of course, we're forging a lot of partnerships as we go around Gogan. I understand you caught up recently with Jerry to hear a little bit more about that and what's going on there. So let's go to that now.
All right, Jerry, Colin, welcome to the show. Jerry, first question's for you. Kind of as our chief commercial lead, I just want you to explain to our audience, what the commercial arm of IO does for Cardano, and what are your 2021 dynamics and objectives, and what are you looking for to achieve this year?
Thank you for having me on your show. I'd like to really simplify this to 3 key pillars here for the commercial team. And I recently listened to a podcast with Naval Ravikant, and he's quite a clear thinker in the IT industry. And he coined the term, he called it code, community, and capital. And I'd like to rejig that a little bit. And I think the 3 pillars for the commercial strategy for 2021, frankly, over the next 5 to 10 years is code, community, and commercialization. So what does that mean? I'm relying on you, Aparna, and your team, and obviously feeding back to you the market dynamics to make our code the best possible, the most robust, the most secure, the most scalable, to be the best platform in the industry. And building on top of that, the goal is to accelerate adoption and create a community of several billion users. And to that community, we can offer our value add services. That is the key drivers of our strategy. So what kind of services does the commercial team offer? We offer solution services, building solutions on top of our platform, data services that uses the blockchain to extract data that's required for those solutions. And we're seeking to expand to migration services, consulting services, and infrastructure services. So there's nothing new here, right? This is the standard model for IT services. What's new in our industry, which is really a break from the past, is that the new revolution is going to be open source, privacy preserving, and the individuals own the data. We've seen the sins of the past, and we don't want to repeat them, right? So the unique selling proposition of the blockchain industry is that, and therefore, I think this is going to be a great expansion period for our industry. And I think one of the big mega trends in our market recently is the bull run that we're seeing, right, across the board. But the new type of people that are coming into our industry, these are more people that are looking more for the long term. I think the initial bull run, there was a lot of speculation and so forth. People looking to get rich quick and the like. And I think this time we've seen a shift. And I think it's a great shift for our industry. When companies like MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor are transferring their corporate balance sheets to our industry, this is not a short-term play. They're looking for, this is a long-term play. And the more people that are in this for the long term, the better it is for everyone. And so these are kind of the big trends that we're seeing in the market. We're also seeing big tech. That's the sins of centralization, right? They're deplatforming people, they're selling people's data, you're not owner of your data and so forth. And so these are the solutions that our industry is going to provide over the next generation. And I think it's going to turn out to be a better world based on the solutions that we're creating here.
That's awesome, Jerry. Thank you. And Colin, you've been on this show a couple times on the parameter side of things, and you have a very, very special role with the company. You do a lot of analysis, and your analysis really feeds a lot of our strategy and how we go about the roadmap, especially around parameters and SPO economics. So Colin, I know you've prepared a presentation, a little deeper dive on the market dynamics. So please, looking forward to sharing that with our audience. So the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you very much, Aparna. Pleasure to be back again. And it's exciting to see different sides of the role coming through, not just as parameters. This has been an amazing month for crypto. And I think that's the theme that, everybody thinking at the end of this January, this has been something special. This is exciting. This is something different happening. And much like Jerry had talked about, I think this is something that is very different than what we saw several years ago. Because it is different players coming in. I want to talk about some of the fundamentals of the crypto market and why this is a little bit different than what we might have seen before, and what are some of the trends that we see coming up in the market. I'm going to go ahead and try to present this now, Aparna. So one of the things that's very typical of all assets, and crypto is not exception in this case is that there is a strong relationship between supply and demand. And one of the things that we often see is there's a demand for an asset, and it's going to have other sensitivities. And some of these will be based on its own price. Some of it will be the wider financial environment. And some of it will be other related assets or substitutes. And it's very difficult in crypto to think about what's happening without talking about Bitcoin, because so much of the market responds to and is driven by Bitcoin. A lot of the very public, widespread knowledge of crypto comes through Bitcoin. So when we're looking at supply and demand, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin first, and then come back and talk about what it means for Cardano and the other crypto assets, and how those are related. One of the primary models that people use to model Bitcoin is a model called stock to flow. And it's a fairly intuitive model, which says as the amount of a commodity is going into a market, decreases, then the price is going to go up just due to a certain amount of demand, constrained supply, and the price goes up. And this has been something that's worked very well for certain types of commodities. For example, precious metals. This is a very useful model to look at. It has some limitations, though, in terms of Cardano. And one of those in this model is, certainly there is a value that comes from the price of energy and the hash rate, but one of the main concerns about the model is about substitutes, so that you can think of close comparable assets. For example, gold doesn't have other metals that are like gold, really. But if you're looking at red delicious apples, you might think of Gala apples or Jazz apples as a close comparable. And therefore, when you look at a constrained supply of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is such a large part of the market, maybe those assumptions sort of apply to Bitcoin right now. They certainly don't apply to ADA, where we're certainly acting as a substitute in some ways for Bitcoin. I think we have a very compelling set of advantages over Bitcoin, but we're still very much responding to what's happening to Bitcoin. And part of that comes back to the state of the industry. This is an industry that is toddling towards adulthood. We're maybe making the corner from the terrible twos, but we're just very much coming to our feet and developing our own kind of personalities as coins. There are not strong fundamentals yet. And all coins are trading really at a very strong discount to what they eventually are going to be. And there's a lot of opportunities. Certainly, challenges like identity or AML KYC have wide open opportunities that are still being tapped. And staking is another powerful thing. We get some value from securing the network, and that has some utility. But it really comes back to the fact that coins are really trading on what they will be or might be one day. And that brings me to the second point, a market for lemons. This was a famous economic paper about used cars and why the price of used cars is so low. And those have a lot of things in it. Investors have a hard time judging the value of the assets. There's a lot of incentive to pass a poor quality product onto the market and cash in. There's, one of the challenges of the industry is there's very limited quality assurance in the form of regulation. That's in some ways a great strength, but it's also a challenge for investors to decide, what if this coin isn't a good project? And, I think one of the challenges with good coins or great coins is it's very hard to distinguish them from junk. And there's a lot of junk out there. And I think some of the things that Cardano's doing, a very experienced management team, the research and the code base that's reviewed and out there, the long-term commitment through things like the treasury and the governance with Catalyst, and certainly as we move through our development roadmap and deliver the product, those again are things that really are powerfully rewarded by the markets. And it's interesting because of the lack of differentiation among coins. Is one thing we often see is any coin that's delivering these tends to benefit kind of its close peers. And so that's something that we probably will change. But in terms of market dynamics, it's just very strong long-term relationships between different cryptocurrency coins. And I was talking about the Shelley release was a big impact on other staking coins or coins that were going to become staking coins as that technology kind of was proven out or demonstrated in a very wide way. So those are one way that coins are related. And also coins are also acting as liquidity pools. You can trade Bitcoin ADA, and if you need more Bitcoin, you can trade through there, which can cause the markets to reverse sometimes. But also they're also providing very similar liquidity. So these are also ways that the coins move together. So when we're looking at coins, I think we can skip to the question everybody wants to know. Let's talk about what's happening in the market. And is the 2021 bump sustainable? And, I think there's some really exciting things. And one thing that we've come back again and again in our research and our notes is anything that boosts trust or confidence in crypto assets is just strongly positive for the price. And one thing we saw in late 2020 was many institutional players jumping in. And I think that's a great sign to the industry that this is a more mature industry. This isn't, just for a bunch of computer nerds, but it's a real asset. It's a real financial applications. So I think this feels very different. I think it's something that we are having, it's a great time to be in crypto because it's a market that is rapidly changing. We're starting to see real product differentiation and grow up. And so I think it is sustainable. So that would be where I am with the crypto.
Yeah, I think if you could just remove the noise of volatility, and if you're in it for the long game, I think it is sustainable. I think in the short term, volatility may come back in, and there may be pullbacks, but our industry works in fits and starts, right? There were bull runs, but then new levels are reached, and then they never go back down below a certain level, right? So I think if you're in it for the long term and you're comfortable with volatility, I think over the next 5 or 10 years, it's a very sound place to put your money, essentially.
I mean, this is really educational and informative, guys. I mean, I really appreciate it. I'm going to ask you a question in terms of how we bridge this to adoption. And by adoption, let's talk about like verticals and, interoperability. Because I mean, there are quite a few players in the market with some great it. So Jerry.
Yeah, why don't I kick this off? So I think in terms established companies come into our space, then getting into the space of replacing the Facebooks of this world will become something that'll become more prevalent. Our voting systems, getting digital IDs, people owning their data. I think the exchange of value and yield bearing phase is gonna get the network effect in. And then once people get more comfortable with the platforms, will allow us to expand to those more humanitarian use cases that will really provide benefit to humanity, right? And I think this is the way that I see it. So right now we are in this phase, right? And in terms of yield generation, there are the DeFi space that's exploded around Ethereum, but there's also fees getting paid to people to secure the networks, right? Through mining and through staking and so forth. Those are going to continue to be a big topic for 2021. But the grander vision is about getting, 3 billion people onto our platform for financial inclusion in places across the world where they don't have access to banking services, financial services, and so forth, right? So that's the first phase is that, and then we're going to get into the e-society side of the puzzle, where social networks get disrupted, voting systems get disrupted, and ultimately, this is going to be the new world that we're going to see over the next generation, and where vision people, right? Governments think over generations. They're getting interested in our platform. The central banks are getting interested in our platform. And where we're seeing traction is in the government spaces. So Africa and the this is also a generational thing. Younger people are digital natives. They're far more comfortable in this space, right? So the education sector is another area that we're seeing traction on. And as the markets mature, it's kind of like when you used to play, when you play video games, the new maps open up when the old, when you've completed the first map. And I see that happening over the next 5, 10, 20, 25 years, right? This is a generational change that's going on. And I'll tackle the point of interoperability. I'd love to hear Colin's point of view on these two topics from a market-oriented view and the data that he's seeing. Interoperability is a no-brainer. It's happening, right? So just think of the big use cases. Stablecoins are a form of interoperability, right? Exchanges are a form of interoperability. They're interoperating with the legacy financial system, right? So it's already a big part of our industry. When we do our solutions for governments and so forth, we need to interoperate with the centralized systems as well, right? We don't live on an island. We have to bridge out to these other systems. So interoperability is key. And history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. This is what happened in the cloud space, right? When Amazon kind of broke through, everyone thought everyone's going to move everything to Amazon. That's not what ended up happening. What ended up happening is the multi-cloud world. There are niches that form. They need to talk to each other. There's bridges that are formed and so forth. There are dominant platforms that end up emerging, but interoperability is key to having a healthy ecosystem that benefits everybody, right? So interoperating with our competitors, for lack of a better term, actually serves everybody. So I think interoperability is going to be a huge part of the ecosystem moving forward. And I think we encourage it, and we're happy to be on board with that.
I'm going to jump in and say I can't agree more. I think we're seeing the beginning of some market segmentation in the crypto assets, bit of specialization as coins carve out their industries and niches. And one thing about financial markets is historically they've needed a time and a place to gather for you to trade and exchange value with other people. And interoperability is just that. In a decentralized world, how can you find anybody? How can you trust anyone? And those are going to be the challenges for crypto in the future, is not this anonymous trading, digits on the internet, but actually trading with people you know and trust in a way that provides value for both of you, and in a way that you can take some personal responsibility for. I think that's going to be the industry really changing its tenor from get rich quick to providing value, thinking about the value that's out there, and making it so that all the parties benefit. And I think it's a very positive message, and it's a very exciting message. It's a bit more sustainable. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's real value, real opportunities, and we're just starting to realize that in places that have previously been very difficult to work with.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add to that it's happening organically, right? And partnerships is another big part of the commercial strategy. And part of it is us seeking partners, but another big part of them is partners coming out are seeking us, right? So let me highlight just a few of those key partnerships that I've been forming recently, right? So there's the big partnership with Singularity.net, which is a decentralized AI provider, artificial intelligence. They have needs for blockchain services. We have need for AI services. So there's an interoperability play there that's forming. And you'll be seeing more of that this year. We forged a partnership with Wolfram for our Oracle solution. So they offer data services to large corporate clients, but they also see the need for the blockchain space and data services for that space. And that interoperability, is forming through that partnership with Wolfram, and ultimately with our channel partners. So we work with partners to help us build our solutions, and that ecosystem is expanding. And ultimately, IOHK as a commercial function can only do so much. We're here to service the community and be one of the big players helping adoption, but I want to expand that that house, right? I want as many partners as possible participating, and it's not a zero-sum game. That's the beautiful thing about our industry. It's never a zero-sum game. It's a win-win game. The more partners you get in, the more people we interoperate with, the more opportunities open up. And that's really exciting for me. So, it's quite the opposite. This is not the old world, right? This is not, we're trying to create IP and, protect no, we want to share, we want to work with other people. And then the network effect takes care of everything else, right? Metcalfe's law is very prominent in our industry. And, as these communities expand, we're going to provide services to those communities. And like I said, it's not a zero-sum game. It's a win-win. The more partners you get, the more everybody wins. So that's kind of like where I'd like to leave off here from a commercial standpoint for 2021. It's a very exciting industry to be in. Very excited to be here. I think, chose the right place, right time.
That's great. Jerry and Colin, I love that whole win-win strategy that we have going on for this year. It is very exciting times for us, both product, actually all of it, right? Product, market, where we're headed, the industry in general. So we'll see more of you guys as
maybe a last thought, because I know we're just going through our different funds on Catalyst. That's another very exciting part of what we're doing, right? Opening the treasury system for people to build on Cardano. That's just, that's wonderful, right? And, we are going to reach out to them, and hopefully they can reach out to us if they need help. We're learning from them, they're learning from us. It's just this exciting, exciting time where people are learning from each other. Oftentimes, it's funny, as we mature, I see myself more and more looking at the community for solutions than looking internally at IOHK for solutions, which is great. It's a force multiplier. We're a company of several hundred people. The community is several 100,000 people. Just think about that. That's just very exciting.
That's right. Crowdsourcing innovation. I love it. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
So we've had an update from Nico and Sebastian and Emergo. I think it's time now to have a bit of an update from the third organization driving the Cardano project, the Cardano Foundation. Now, before Christmas, we introduced you to Eva Oberholzer, who's the new Chief of Growth for the Cardano Foundation. I caught up with her earlier to find out a little bit more about the Cardano Foundation's renewed mission and what the focus for them is going to be over the next few months. Eva, hi, welcome back to the show. Of course, we all met you before the holiday period. You recently joined the Cardano Foundation. You've been in the role as Chief Growth Officer for about 3 months now. Had time to acclimatize and understand the landscape a little bit better. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing, particularly around the CF's mission.
Well, we are in the midst of a truly transformative time for the Cardano protocol and therefore for the entire ecosystem and CF. Introducing smart contracts and dApps will actually mean that we open up our blockchain, the Cardano blockchain, for business to the world. So our goal as CF is to make this transformation, first of all, make it happen, and secondly, as seamless as possible, which means that the foundation itself needs to stay flexible and constantly evolve over our roadmap and along with the community as well. So the last 3 months, since I joined, a very big part inevitably has been nailing down on the mission, getting clarity on what is CF's role, what is our value proposition, and how can we execute on it. We got a renewed focus and a very clear set, which could be broken down in 3 key missions. Number 1, drive adoption. Number 2, enable decentralization of the community with the community, of course. And number 3, provide resilience and compliance to the Cardano ecosystem. However, as mentioned, in order to achieve these missions, we must remain dynamic, not only support the transformation of the ecosystem, but also be able to evolve our organization within the system. So this ultimately means that CF currently is moving from a mainly autonomous builder and supporter into or over a co-creator and enabler of the community to finally become a supervisor and the last point of accountability for our community. And I guess this all happens simultaneously. The more we go into towards decentralization, the more we become that particular part, the latter part. So clearly the focus for me and my team, the Markets and Growth Unit, will mainly be on number 1 and number 2, which means adoption and decentralization.
Perhaps we can just dig a little bit deeper into that and understand. You talk about agility and you talk about evolution. Perhaps we can just dig a little bit into maybe some of the projects and programs that you'll be bringing out over the next few months.
Sure. I mean, besides nailing down the mission, my role in CF also entails understanding the purely operational terms, who we need in role, what kind of skills, what kind of resources, tools to deliver in these newly reinvigorated and focused missions. And that's also something that will be continuing in the months ahead, in the weeks ahead. And there will be a number of changes, a number of new hires to build some of those needed skills into the business. Yeah, and of course, we will launch a set of initiatives where we proactively work with the community, make them to our co-creators, share our resources and skills, not only financially with them, so that we can move all forward. And yeah, for me, short-term success is to recognize what great capabilities we have in the ecosystem, and that not only relies to the technical perspectives, but from a whole ecosystem. I think Project Catalyst is a very great example and mechanism to do that, and similarly to that is the ambassador program and the CIP process, etc., etc. I believe that those instruments combined with our swarm intelligence and the great skills we have in the community can be further used and can be a real growth accelerator.
Now, one of the other areas that we're going to be increasingly collaborating on is around developer acquisition, and we've mentioned Catalyst as well, and there's potentially a very sweet virtuous circle that we can create with an opportunity for community ideation, shared collaboration and innovation, and then of course a funding route to bring new technologies and new capabilities to the Cardano platform. We've also done recently a collaborative workshop, I think, which I hope we both feel is an interesting model going forwards. Perhaps you want to just say a little bit about the metadata project that you've worked on with ScanTrust, for example, and how that's also fed into that collaboration.
Yes, of course. As mentioned, we are in the middle of a transition. So our role as CF is, yeah, on the one hand, we have to enable and have to grow our ecosystem and see where we have, according to the roadmap and according to the technical capability, what is available and how can we guide the community to use those capabilities. And therefore, we have built the Cardano connector and worked with ScanTrust to build the first POC for supply chain tracking. So that was a very, very great story, and as you mentioned, a really cool thing to see how all the different parties worked together, and also how we interacted with the community. We have some really great use cases as well now within the community using metadata, and so that will be definitely something we will continue doing, and hopefully in this transition move more and more over to Catalyst. Mentioning Catalyst is also something we will engage much more. So in Fund 4 we will be involved as CF in Project Catalyst. I cannot spoil in detail in what form that will be, but I think that will be a very great story where we also try to fulfill our mission to enable and to collaborate and co-create with the community. And I guess there are many more POCs and use cases coming up, and like showing this collaboration between the key units, IOHK, Emurgo, and CF. this is just great to see how we now really streamlining our operations, make sure that we really create impact and our targets, and reach out to the community, but also opening up to the business world. Another important strategy will be that we bring in more developers into our ecosystem, that we add more technology capabilities. We have IOHK, we have Amorgo, who have built and continue building very critical infrastructure and technological parts, but we will also need the community to help us build additional tools, additional development tools, etc. And only when we have them also in our ecosystem, projects such as Catalyst, etc., become even more interesting.
And even more practically, of course, the metadata workshop that we ran collaboratively with Jeremy from the CF team and our technical guys. I think we had about 500 people turn up to that as a live event, and we've had thousands of views of that since. It's been very popular, and I think that's definitely a model that we want to repeat across the new technologies as we roll them out, from native tokens to ERC20, the various DevNet languages, and of course Plutus and Marlow. So Ava, thank you very much for coming on the show to share a little bit more about the mission of the CF, and we'll look forward to having regular catch-ups with you over the months ahead. Ava, thank you very much. So thank you to Ava for joining us on the show. And of course, we'll be having a lot more from Ava over the months ahead, and her team, indeed. Before we wrap up, we just thought there might be one more special guest that we wanted to invite, a familiar face to many of you, and now a member of the team. Okay, so we're joined now by a special guest who I'm sure many of you will recognize from David Likes Crypto. David joined us a few months back to do some video for us instead of for his own channel. So David, welcome to the monthly show.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So what happened? How did this all come about? You know, 1 minute you were pushing stuff out via your own channel, and now you're pushing stuff out via the official IOHK channel. Tell us the story.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and it kind of happened really fast. So I got into crypto not until it was 2020. So I got in just last year, and I was like, okay, I got to start looking into this stuff. There's something behind this. And so I went down this wormhole of Bitcoin, kind of jumping into the other altcoins. And then as soon as I found Cardano, I started looking into it, and it stood out like nothing else. And so much so that I just started wanting to make videos talking about it. It was all I could think about. I was like, oh man, this project is so like, people aren't even looking at it yet. There's so much potential behind it. And so that's what really got me into the whole Cardano ecosystem.
So, I mean, obviously, a relatively shallow learning curve, I guess, but still quite a big change. What have you been doing for the last couple of months?
Well, we have been making videos. Videos have been made, but some of them aren't out yet. So I should say that there are videos backlogged. So videos have been made. They're just kind of waiting for the right time to come out. And then we also got new content coming soon.
That's cool. So David, the community, of course, knows you. How's it been coming onto this side of the tracks into IO?
It's a great eye opener. I think from a community perspective, when you're in the community, you're just kind of like waiting for that next piece of information. You're just like, come on, give me that next piece of information. And now that I'm kind of like on the other side, I'm like, oh, I understand how it all works. Like, it feels slow from the community side, but then when you're inside the machine, you're like, no, everyone's working really hard. It just takes a lot of people. There's a lot of people coordinating a lot of things. So it actually seems like it's going really fast from the inside.
Maybe we don't want to probably probe too deeply, but can you give us a little bit of an indication, give the community a communication? What sort of thing can we expect to see coming up?
So there's going to be lots of content coming up, and it's going to be explaining really just the basic and then also the deeper side of Cardano. So we're going to kind of talk about crypto. We're going to talk about Cardano, and we're really going to be looking at explaining things for the new users that are coming on board.
Fantastic. David, thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing more videos very soon. Cheers. Okay, so that's very nearly it for this month. But January, we're a few weeks back in. The project is accelerating already and really going to accelerate significantly over the next few months. But Aparna, maybe just a few closing words from you about what are some of the priorities really that we'll be focused on over the next few months, and what can the community really expect to see?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of planning work the past 3 weeks, and we actually started it back in December. When you go into a new year, you want to take the momentum and also the lessons learned from what you've done. And last year was as you know, it's very fast paced, and we did quite a bit. We accomplished quite a bit as a team, so that was great. The types of deliveries we've done, the big Shelly, the Goguen program that started coming out. There was a ton of work. Now, going into this year, there were three key areas that we were focusing on in the people side, in the product side, and also in the process as we're handling more and more innovation. So on the people side, just making sure that the teams are well right-sized is the right word that I like to use. It's really to make sure that we have the right sort of capabilities and the skill sets to be able to meet our customer expectations of the project. And on the product side, there's quite a bit. Like I mentioned a little bit about the decentralization and programmability and governance. That's a key theme for us. But it's also the developer ecosystem, making sure that we understand and we build the ecosystem around getting developers onto the chain to create value in the chain. Another great one is the utility. Now, Goguen is a utility pillar, like I've been talking about, but the utility really shows when those POCs are built on top of it, when we have the launch partnerships, when we have the commercial partnerships. So really pushing a narrative there and having a product to commercial tie-in between my team and Jerry's team to ensure that we're going down that road, and we're looking at all the different commercial opportunities that we can build in requirements into the platform. And then we're looking at innovation. So Marlowe is on a whole different track for innovation and what they're planning to do and how we're planning to do it. We've got Project Atlas, which we'll talk more about, and then Hydra and how we get to a prototype for scalability. And on the more operational side, it's things like launching, right? If we want to launch Cardano and into a different level, then what sort of documentation do we need? How do the websites look? What sort of support models are there in place? What sort of business models for partners to come in and build? What sort of incentives models are there for people to run services? So there's quite a bit going on, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys a brief update on our planning.
So that's pretty much it now for this month. But before we go, just to point you to one little piece of bonus content. In case you missed it yesterday, Ben Goertzel, Charles Hoskinson, The Return, in conversation on the future of decentralized social media and the digital commons. Definitely worth watching over on our YouTube channel. And please remember to subscribe and to click on the bell to get all the very latest updates on Cardano. So until next time, thank you very much. Next time, thank you very much.
Hello! How are you guys all doing today? It's that time. It's AMA time. Can we provide liquidity to AGUSD and keep the ADA staked? I want to say no. I don't think so. I think you have to send your ADA to the smart contract. But it could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. Ben just slurped on his drink the whole time. Yeah, there's no dance gifs in the YouTube chat. There's got to be something, man. There's got to be some dance gifs. I hear some kind of spooky music. I turned that off, right? Yeah, I did. I think it's Crowdcast. Crowdcast is playing some spooky music. So that was only some of that was only some of Atala. It was probably just like we've seen it before. Essentially what they do is they make like a phony website, even though the app look real. They make like a phony website to kind of do some of the data stuff. Because if you look back in July at the Atala stuff, they showed us a demo of Atala, and it was a completely different app. It seemed like a completely different website. So maybe that is the real one. But it also could just be a phony Cardano themed thing to show that they're working on it, to show what's going on and kind of how it's going to work, Because a lot of people don't know much about Atala, but I think that stuff is really cool just for the fact that it can actually help people secure their data, right? So when I share something with a company, for example, we'll say it's my social security card, just any types of data. When I share that with them, what happens is they store that data and keep it for good. So if you use Atala Prism and you have keys attached to your data, then the only person that can see that data that you send them will be keys. And then you can have some sort of way that only allows them to see it for X period of time, or their keys are only valid for a couple months. So I really do like that stuff, and I'm looking forward to the future, you know. The Kingter said, "What's up, Big Pay? What's up? What's up?" Shane said, "I hear we could." You might be right, Shane. You might be right. Nick Stu said, "Sup? What's up, man?" I'm really upset that we couldn't do the hype at the beginning. It would have been a much better live stream if we would have done the hype at the beginning, because me being on here for 20 minutes is obviously like enough to get people like to catch it, you know, to catch the algorithm. So we probably would have had like 250 people in here. The chat would have been a party, except I was late because of that damn consultation. It would have been hype. It was still hype though. I still had a great time with you all. I appreciate it. But I'm definitely not going to miss the hype period next time, you know. Ferris said, "Can you dance for us again?" I can't, man. I only do the dance after the watch parties. You know, they do. I guess I just kind of did it, but they always play that music. I love it. I love it. So I always dance to it. I do it every watch party, man. Xavier said, "How does Liquid work if I'm staked with Bloom?" That's a good question, Xavier. I'm going to have to talk to him about that, because the way that I understand this stuff is that you're going to have to send your ADA to a smart contract, right? So how can the ADA that you send somewhere still be able to do it unless there's just a different protocol level mechanism that allows you to provide liquidity without having to send your ADA to a smart contract? I'm not sure, man. I'm really not sure. I'm going to have to figure that out. But it's really going to suck, though, if you guys can't. Because what you got to think about this from Liquid's perspective. What they could do is allow people to send their ADA to the smart contract, and then the ADA that's in the smart contract is just on their own private pools, right? So I'm not sure how people are going to be able to stay staked with their pool, but also have their ADA in a smart contract. I'm going to have to talk to him about that. I'm really curious on that stuff. Wonder Sound said, "Nice hoodie. Thanks, man." Shane said, "Or they're working on functionality to keep it staked." Yeah, I think they're still working on that, because they have to kind of see how the design of Cardano is going to work, you know, how the protocol is going to work, how they can interact with it, or what we're going to have day one, because maybe a feature that will allow staking and providing liquidity at the same time will be here, but it won't be here day one, right? So I think they're still kind of waiting, you know. Soccer News says, "Brother, do you think Cardano will reach $3 to $5 in 1 year?" I don't answer price questions. I mean, it's not like impossible, but is it likely? I would say no. You know, it could though. Liquid allows the ADA to remain, while providing liquidity. Yeah, I know that 1 over 121. I know they said that, but thinking about how the protocol actually works, to me it seems like you're going to have to send your ADA to a smart contract, and then the ADA in the smart contract is going to be staked. As to where it's staked, I don't know, right? I could be wrong on that. I just need more data, but from my understanding, that's how it works. Shane said, "It looked good, gave me a better perspective." What do you mean? Do you mean like the little thing that we just watched, the development recap? Alejandro said, always nice to see you, Pay. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I always in my head, like 1 over 1024, I always just see the MAGA hat. So I always just think of you of MAGA man in my head. He said, "And they view the private data and they simply copy it." I think you're replying to somebody else. Richard said, "Thanks, Pay. I will leave. I have to walk the dog before the COVID evening clock." Yeah, I'm going to be hopping off here soon, but I just wanted to do probably like 15, 20 minutes of a little bit of a recap and a little bit of an AMA. And then I'll be hopping off here too. But thanks for coming by, man. I really appreciate it. I like if you have insight as to what they're talking about. You can talk over them during the presentation. Staking keys. Yeah, that's a good idea, Shane. It's a good idea. Especially if it's something that we kind of already know about. Shane said, "Staking keys are different." That was for H. Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. I'm trying to think of how that's going to work. Just based on my current knowledge of the Cardano blockchain and how staking keys work. So Wondersound said, "I don't think you can earn staking rewards and liquidity rewards either, or everybody else would be a provider of ADA." That's incorrect. You can actually earn both at the same time, but I just don't know if I think you have to send it to a smart contract, because if they allow the smart contract to be staked, then all of the ADA that's in the smart contract can be staked. But whatever is being used as liquidity, as a loan, then obviously that ADA is not going to be staked, right? So let's like to kind of give you guys a better example of this. Imagine you have just a pool of funds, and that pool of funds is a smart contract. And let's say it has $100 million in there, but you're providing $1 million. So that means you're providing 1% of the total liquidity, right? So now let's imagine some guy comes for a loan and loans $5 million. Well, of that $5 million, you only lose 1%, right? Of that 5 million, right? Because you are per rata providing 1% of the liquidity. So whatever you're losing, and okay, let me do the math right so I can actually give a better example. So the better thing would be to say they come and get a loan for $1 million, right? So they come and get a loan for $1 million, and that leaves 99 million left over. So that means since you provide 1% of that total $100 million pool, then you provided that $1 million guy $10,000. So you only lose $10,000 staked, and the rest of your ADA, so the $990,000 can stay staked, and you can keep earning rewards while also earning the liquidity fee from providing the 1% of the 1 million that was loaned. So it can happen, right? You can get rewards from both while still having a lot of the ADA staked, depending on if people are actually getting the loans or not, right? What matters is where it's staked. Can you still stake to Bloom if you provide to this? Because in my head, there would have to be a Bloom smart contract that everyone in that smart contract is Bloom, right? So would I have to kind of speak to Liquid and say, hey, my Bloom delegates, they want to provide liquidity and earn staking returns, but they don't want to stake to your pool, right? So does there have to be a Bloom smart contract? But then that would divide up the total liquidity, right? So then it would make it more risk at first. So, I mean, it's a complicated thing. I'm very curious on seeing how they do this and where it goes. You know, I'm just going to have him on again and talk to him for sure. Richard said, yes, invite Liquid again. I have the same questions on how to keep staked and help the Liquid finance. Yeah, I'm going to have him on again. We're going to ask him a lot of questions. I'll probably prepare something before, you know, and say like, okay, here's all the questions from us, you know, and just kind of go over them. Jimmy Davidson said, thanks for hosting Pay. Sent you an email for help on the staking pool. Cheers. No problem, man. If you guys haven't liked the video already, please do that. I would appreciate it. But yeah, I'll get back to your email, Jimmy. That's no problem. I'll probably get to it right after this. Pooji Mass said, good morning from Australia. Sorry, just missed it. What was the most exciting part of the update? For me, the most exciting part of the update was seeing the ERC20 converter. And they also said that stuff is coming at the end of February. Like it's still on track for the end of February, which I'm hyped for. I am hype. So yeah, hoping for that. Yeah, that was the best part. Just seeing the ERC20 converter and knowing the Merry Hardfork is coming at the end of the next month. I'm so hype about that. You know, Bloom Token is on its way. I'll probably do some Bloom Token giveaways to you guys too on the live streams. Monday. Okay, so Monday I'm going to be doing an AMA as always at 3 p.m. EST. So you make sure you guys show up to that. But I'm going to be doing something really cool. I'm going to be doing a little guide on actually creating a native token for Cardano. So if you guys are excited for that, you think it's going to be cool, type native token in chat and leave a like. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. It's going to be I'm just going to be doing it at the beginning of the AMA just to do something cool, you know, show it off, and then we'll be heading into the AMA. So, man, somebody's blowing me up. Let me silence that. Alejandro said, ha, Mega Man, nice character. Thanks for all the hard work and sharing with us. I hope there's chances we can stay staked to Bloom while providing liquidity. Me too, man. Me too. Wonder Sound, no, you can't. Stake would be on the contract, not on Bloom. Exactly. All right, man. Thanks for this. Learning a lot. See you later. See you later, man. See ya. I appreciate you swinging by, man. Pooji said, thanks for addressing my question. You rock, mate. No problem, man. Yeah, so I try to answer everybody's questions. You know, if this is your first time, I do AMAs like this every Monday at 3 p.m. EST. And then I do these little watch parties afterwards. Or during the monthly recaps, usually. Alejandro said, would be cool if the percentage of Bloom allocation goes to providing liquidity, is sent to a smart contract, and then we all share proportionally the liquid fees, including Bloom. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Can supply their ADA tokens to the Liquid protocol, including staked ADA, and yield the optimal interest rate denominated in USD, all with no need for users to sell their ADA and give custody to... I think you're pasting something in, so I'll wait for the next one. Hey, I talk to Dwayne all the time, so I can just message him and ask him. Yeah. I understand 1/1024, that's what the white paper says, and that's what they want to do. That's like the best case scenario, right? I mean, there's no better way to do it. But in my opinion, just because they say something in the white paper doesn't mean at the protocol level they'll be allowed to do it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? But I'll answer a couple more questions and then I'll hop out of here. A couple more questions, but I appreciate you guys all coming to the watch party. I had fun. I'm not going to upload this video afterwards, so it's going to be a live thing. I may start doing a couple things on this channel where they're only live, and then I don't upload the video afterwards like I normally do. So that's one of these. So if you guys caught it live, you're the only one that you're the only people that are going to catch it. So. One over 1024 said, shock. What do you mean shock? Are you trying to use an emote? It didn't come up if you are. Wonder Sound, replace the banks. I would love that, man. I would just like for banks to at least have to be competitive, man. If I'm letting you hold my $30,000, then you should be paying me for it. You should be paying me for it. You know? I mean, think about it. These banks can do what the hell ever with their money, and they're going to get a bailout. And their whole model is to earn money from my money. So it's like, dude, if you're completely backed by the government, any bailout that you get, you're just gonna, or any failing that you do, you're just gonna get a bailout. If you get robbed, you're FDIC insured. So all of that, you have literally no risk. You get to hold my money, yet you provide me 0.12% interest a year. It's a joke, man. The banks just need to have competition. That's what the banks need. You know, we don't have to replace the banks. Just get rid of all of their centralized governmental power, you know, so we can actually have some competition, some free market competition from the banks, because there are still people that need banks. I don't trust some people holding their funds. I really don't, right? Some people need hey, you shouldn't withdraw $2,000 cash right now. Like, you still can, but you shouldn't. A warning. Some people need hey, you can't send this man across the country $5,000 because he called you on your phone. You can't take that out of your retirement plan. You know what I mean? Some people need that. It sucks, but there's still value in other people holding other people's funds. I've met many people in my life, really not even I've met many people in my life. Most of the people I've met in my life spend every dollar they get as they get it, right? And I've also met a lot of other people that can be, oh, I send my money here, I get double my money back. I mean, people actually fall for that. You know what I mean? Jazzy Waffle says, how do I start a stake pool? That's a long answer to that question. I would probably ask on Telegram, you know, where to start, or ask on the Discord server down below. We can probably get you started. Joshua said, thanks for the stream pay and providing free knowledge to Cardano. No problem, man. No problem. Been delegating to Bloom since there was only 2 Bloom pools. Looking forward to the future of Cardano, man. Thanks so much, Josh. I appreciate you swinging by for the whole stream, and I appreciate you being here so early. You know? Yeah, it was nice. It was nice only having 2 Bloom pools, man. It was nice. I developed this bond, this I don't know, this loyalty to them, and it was so sad having to make more just for the same amount of space. You know, Burton said, I would support Bloom. And what would you support Bloom in? But thanks, man. We have minus interest in Germany. We do here too. Like for our minus interest, it'll say like, oh, if you don't have $10,000 in your bank account, or it's even smaller sometimes, like 500 or 1,000, then we're going to charge you $10 a month. So then let's think about it. If someone doesn't have $1,000 per month in their bank and they charge $10 a month to use the bank, that's a negative interest rate of at least 1%. The maximum is at least 1% per month to use your bank account. 1% per month. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, that's just hilarious. That's Chase. That's Chase in America, one of the biggest banks. $10 per month if you have less than 1,000 to use your. So that's 12% minimum per year to have a bank account. I mean, that's hilarious, man. People actually use that. Check the price on Dogecoin right now. It's crazy. I'll take a look at it. Getting a little Dogecoin pump. Holy shit. 217% in one day. Did TikTok get to it again? Man, that would have been a good buy. Let me look at a week ago. Damn, it's been pretty flat for a while. Yeah, that's some real shit right there. It's probably gonna keep going too. Paxo said, a quick recap, an overview of Cardano voting. So the voting is not going to start until the 16th. You have to register to vote on the 16th. I'm going to have videos on my channel on how to do that. So if you want to catch up to that, just make sure you click that notification bell and then click all. I'll have a video that says how to register to vote, how to do this, how to do this, how to do this. So that's all you really need to know. So it's kind of a convoluted process, I have to be honest. Yeah, I'll check GameStop. What's it at? I've been following this GameStop story for a while because I'm just so upset about Robinhood halting trading. Like, oh man, that made me so angry. The fact that I'm never gonna use Robinhood ever again. I'm gonna do my tax. I'm gonna get that tax form from them this year, and do my taxes using that tax form they give me, and then I'm going to delete my account and then delete the app and never use them again. I honestly cannot believe that they stopped retail investors from trading GameStop because they were worried about these. Oh, dude, that makes me so angry. But dude, it's just like, think about all of those young kids that watch that happen. All of these people that are just getting into. Think about it. All of these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, really anyone from 18 to 35 is probably your Wall Street bets age bracket, right? And they're watching them all. They found a gem. They did. They found a literal gem that is GameStop based on all the shorts they've had for years. I mean, this is like all of the stars aligned for this one trade. And this subreddit, full of all of these young kids, found it and capitalized on it. And they're like, yes, we did it. We outsmarted these hedge funds. And then what their response is to that is they realize that the stock market is ran by these hedge funds. The fact that they literally got Robinhood to stop the main means of buying that stock, they just stopped buying it. You can't buy it on there anymore. They took down their Discord server with over 250,000 people because one person said something that was hate speech. Of course, you're going to have hate speech with 250,000 people, right? But it just magically happened the day after the GME pump, right? And then the next day, Robinhood halts buying and only allows selling. Oh yeah, we're going to let you sell the stock, but you just can't buy it on here anymore. But these big hedge funds, they have direct access where they can buy and sell in an instant. But yeah, you can't buy anymore. If you want to, you're going to have to move to another platform. Fuck Robinhood. fuck Robinhood. They're done. And then all those kids, those 18 to 30-year-olds, just realized how centralized the stock market is, how centralized everything is. I mean, Discord removed their server. Robinhood stopped them from trading. What's next? I mean, what's next, dude? I mean, this is just, it's showing all of these people how centralized the internet truly is right now. It's absolutely insane. Like with the Parler stuff. Oh, well, if you don't like our rules, then just go somewhere else. Okay, we have Parler. Oh, well, Parler's now off the App Store on Google Play and the Apple App Store. I mean, this is going to wake people up. I mean, the media right now, everything that's happening is going to crypto pill people. It's going to crypto pill people. Because we're seeing what centralization over time does. Because the internet's not free anymore, and it hasn't been free for a while. Everything we search, everything we do, it's all curated. All the information we get, it's all curated, man. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, it's like the last ditch hope to me is like YouTube, right? And sometimes Twitter, you know, but even then, it's like YouTube's still curated. They take down any channel they want. I mean, it's crazy, man. And I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to this, you know? Read some of these and I'll hop off here. That's my rant. Seeing that this morning, man, it really surprised me. It did. It's so blatant. You're not the 1% of the 1%. I'm definitely not. Josh said, I'm in your Twitter DMs. I'll reply to you later, man. No problem. Danny said, hello from Vietnam. Better late than never. You're for sure, Danny. For sure, man. Thanks for swinging by. Matthew said, I think it was the stock exchange that halted the trading, looking after their buddies. That's exactly what it was, man. It was Robinhood looking after their buddies. Matthew Marsh said, I think it was the stock exchange. I already read that one. Oopsies. Wall Street bets. Robinhood is ruined. Yeah, Robinhood is ruined. What Robinhood did was illegal market manipulation, and they're going to pay for that. I agree, man. Yeah, I think they're going to be sued for it. I mean, when the big COVID crash happened, I was reading Wall Street Bets, and they predicted it weeks before. And following Wall Street Bets, I actually put some money on puts. I'm like, all the data they're showing from China and everything that happened, COVID sounds pretty bad, you know, especially with the data we were getting in the beginning. So so what I did is I bought puts on it, and the stock market crashed because of the COVID stuff. Everyone was realizing what was happening. And guess what they did? They just shut down the stock market. They used a thing called a breaker where it just halts trading. What? You can just stop trading? That was my first wake up to this is ran by people. I mean, that's crazy, man. And this is just even worse. This is way worse. Rizwan said, big respect for Peyton and Bloom Pools. Thanks so much, man. Do I pronounce your name right? Hello, AM. Thanks for coming by. We are closing out today, everybody. I had a fun time. Everyone knows the game is rigged. I don't think everyone does, Adam. I don't think everyone does. People realize it, though, for sure. Nick Sue says, change is coming. Winter is here. I hope not, man. I hope not. I don't know. There's a little bit of, in the story of this GME story, there's definitely a little bit of light in there, man. It's definitely going to wake a lot of people up, and I bet a lot of people made some money, at least younger people that are going to do a lot of at least life-changing for them things, right? I mean, it's so beautiful to get on Wall Street Bets and see someone make like 10 grand and say like from 10 grand from like $400 and say like, I only had $400 and I was working paycheck to paycheck, and now I can finally pay off my medical debt. Or someone that makes a couple $100,000 and says my wife has cancer and all this money is going into that, and we're not going to be living in this dystopia of lifelong debt. And it's just like, it's really cool to see them stories, man. It is. And then like that tied with Robinhood shutting them down and making all of these people wake up to how manipulated these services are. A lot of good's going to come for this, man. There's definitely a silver lining. Formula said, I thought Robinhood was supposed to take from the rich and give to the poor. How ironic they're doing the exact opposite. Yeah, they're one of the rich boys now. With how many users they have. Alejandro said, Robinhood declared bankruptcy, right? A long time ago. It was obvious that the platform is not good, but they're allowed to continue trading. I didn't hear about that. I didn't. Hugh said, same here in Germany. They stopped letting you buy it with Trade Republic. It's bullshit, man. FA said, is Grayscale listing ADA? I'm going to have a video on that later today. I'm going to have a video later. So just subscribe, click that notification bell, tune in around 4 o'clock. But yeah, I'm going to hop off here. Great time today, everybody. I had fun. Hope you guys did too. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like. This is only going to be live, so you won't be able to catch this later. So thanks for swinging by. Also, if you want the listed link, the unlisted link of the whole thing, just join the Discord server. It'll still be uploaded, but it'll be hidden. So if you want it, you want to watch earlier, feel free. It's no problem with me. But I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.